played to there.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen
walked
the
back and
overhead
you played this
video
hole.
or the
So.
pictures, but it's there.
You can see that open area behind the pond there.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, back in that corner.
There was that was where the tee
See
was,
what's-
and then the green was at the base down here.
Yeah.
Then you walked back over to where those trees were, and you played a 4 up the hill. So, you know, they just ran out of land. I mean, it was only like a little over 90 acres. So, where are you going to put golf holes? Yeah, it was really small. We were, you know, I was kind of the instigator of trying to get that land down there in the corner so we could expand it a little bit.
How much is Oswego built on?
And you know, Oswego lost part of their land during the Depression. There's a book called Golf Architecture in America, and it shows some holes from Oswego Lake Country Club. But up at the top of the hill there, the golf course used to go further.
Oh, really?
Yeah. People don't realize that. But during the Depression, a lot of things got squeezed.
That's a stamp of a...
Yeah.
And they sold home sites up there, so they never got it back. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the,
That's the old hole.
yeah, so this was 9 going up.
Yep.
And this is the par 3 8, and
Yep.
this was 7 coming all the way down.
Right. It's exactly right.
Dang, that's cool.
Yeah, 7 green right there. You walked all the way around, you played 8, you walked all the way back, and you played 9. Yeah.
And
So,
then the par 3, you actually played. You had to play through the people driving. So
You had to, like, hit it
well,
over.
what
Yeah.
you walked across, and they were parallel holes, and so
yeah.
But
So anyways.
I think the change that was made with the new, 7 and 8 were really
Oh,
good
yeah.
changes.
Oh, yeah.
That gave you more room up here too, to build a
yeah.
golf shop and.
Yeah.
And look at what's here now, putting green, all this kind of stuff. It's all good.
Yeah, so it was around 6,300 yards, 6,200 yards, and then it became 6,700 yards ish.
Yeah.
With that, and now we're hosting the OGA Championship next year, 2025.
Okay.
So that's going to be really
The Oregon Am or
the
what?
Oregon Am.
Oh,
yeah.
great.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So-
you know what? These older golf courses that are shorter like this, it's funny. People say, well, you're going to make it longer so, you'll make it tiger proof. And I'm like, that's just the opposite. The shorter courses where they can't hit their driver are the tiger proof ones. Remember when Tiger was the longest hitter? And that's really not true because now you have to start using your head. In fact, this golf course I built in Minnesota that we've just finished, it'll open later this year, I built the first course and it's like 7,600 par 71. You could have the US Open there.
What?
I built a golf course across the street. It sits on a lake. It's the coolest thing. And it's only 6,500 par 70.
Perfect.
6 par 3s, 4 par 5s.
Cool.
I mean, it's the cool. It's going to be so much fun. Yeah, so it's the two golf courses are so different, and that's what makes golf fun. And I keep telling people it's not just length that determines, it's not just somebody blasting it 340 off the tee. It's somebody that can actually think and maneuver their way around, So that's the part that's fun
Yeah.
of golf. It's not just, it is fun to hit a straight, long drive, no question about it. But it's also fun to see guys grapple with the idea that, man, I may not be able to hit a driver here. What am I going to do? They have to think their way around a little more. And that's fun.
Yeah.
Plus, the new golf course we built in Minnesota has got some replica type holes that honestly I've never built. We built an Eden Green, which is the 11th at St. Andrews, which is a spectacular green. And we built a Cape hole around the lake. We built a Redan, but we also built a Barrett's green. If you know what a Barrett's is, it's 73 yards long with a dip in the middle of it. So the hole can play anywhere from 135 to 235 yards by moving the tee and stuff around.
Yeah.
So we've really kind of built something that I think the members are they're really excited to see it. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to go and see.
But let's go out and look
30
at this
years.
and see.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see it. Yeah, it'll be fun
Yeah.
because I was around.
Hello and welcome, Jeremy Moe.
Hi.
Yeah, reached out when I just
Pleasure.
started a couple of years ago. So
Yeah, thank you. Well, it's nice to be back.
have you on ground. Yes.
Yeah, it's nice to be back here. That's one thing when you get old, what the heck? Everybody wants to see what the old guy says. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Oh, great. Yeah, thank you.
So what is it like coming back 30 years later? Does it feel?
You know,
how does it feel?
It does. I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, I have so many memories of
Yeah.
Tualatin. I can't even begin to tell you how many there are because, you know, I mean, I used to sometimes stand out on the freeway. The golf professional would, you know, the assistant golf pro
Yeah.
would pick me up and take me out here at crack at dawn, and my dad would come and pick me up after it was dark. You know, I mean, we had a lot of days that we played a lot of golf here. You know, so
Bruce was telling me that you guys would sit over by that
we would sit on that putting green and putt for hours. Yeah, literally have games and do stuff, and you know that part's all fun.
So your
It looks the same.
that
Amazing.
so your
great.
strength as a golfer was getting hot. You could get on a streak.
You know, when I was
could
really good was when I could really when I was striking the ball really well, because I was a good enough putter to score well if I struck the ball well. This lake that used to be here was
Yeah,
never
not there.
like that. I used to hit balls from about where the middle of that lake is, right up the 18th hole, fairway woods and stuff like that, because it's hard to find a spot to hit, you know, longer clubs even
Right.
back then.
Right.
And so when it was a day when there weren't very many people out here, I used to just stand there and just rip shots right up the fairway. And what people don't realize is there used to be a bunker across this the old
Right.
course, and where all those trees were, there used to be a bunker in between these two holes, a big, long bunker. That was all
Wow.
taken out, and I think my dad planted the trees. So you can tell. I mean, that was a good while ago.
Well, they obviously have gotten a little bit bigger
Yeah.
since then.
Well, they have, and of course there was the old 14th hole right here, which
Yeah.
I actually made a hole in one on, and then took
Oh,
the
you
hole
did?
out. Yes. So that was hilarious, and I'll tell you, it was the best one. Bruce was playing with me. I think I hit one of these limbs, and it kicked it onto the green, went in the hole. And I'm like, oh my god! I almost didn't want to count it.
Oh my
And
gosh.
he says, I'm putting that in the paper. I said, no, you're not, dude. That's crazy. So yeah, looks great out here though. Looks
Yeah, so
looks like
you're-
things are good.
So when you were a young person playing this course with all the trees, did you envision, you know, your ball flight was a little bit more on point than maybe some other players because you had that?
You know, I wanted to win. That was always, I'm very competitive.
Okay.
I wanted to win, but my goal was to hit the ball further, straighter, putt better, do all those things that made
Everything.
you a better player. And I just loved trying to get better all the time. I remember the first time I broke 70 here. Can't remember how old I was, maybe 13 or 14 years
wow.
old, something like that. And Harold West was a golf professional,
yeah.
and he gave me, he says, son, you know, he says, that's quite an accomplishment. He gave me a brand new X'd out Billy Casper ball. I'm like, oh my gosh, I thought that was so cool. That's funny. Now that is funny.
Harold is quite the accomplished pro. He might be the greatest pro in Tualatin's history. He's in
Yeah,
the Northwest Hall of Fame.
No question that Harold West was a very, and you know, and I think in his day, now I knew him when he was much older, but he was and his son worked here for a while too.
Oh,
but
okay.
but I'll tell you, he was, you know, he was somebody you looked up to until
Yeah.
he retired. I mean, and I think he was a good player in his day. Now
He was
you
a
know,
very good player. He
Yeah.
won a lot of stuff.
and he played in, you know, tournaments like the Northwest Open
Yep.
and the Oregon Open and the Washington Open, and
all things he won.
yeah.
And which you won as well as an amateur, the Northwest Open.
Yep, that was quite an event that week, and
So
I
you're-
built Peter Jacobson a playoff that week. So yeah,
So I was following your career. At age 16, I believe, in 1970, you qualified for the U.S. Junior.
I did. It was
And you
played
made
in
the cut.
Georgia. It was played in Georgia.
You made
Yeah.
the cut at
Yeah.
16, and that was, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the first national event that you
Yeah,
played in.
it was. I can't believe my parents let me do this. I went back to that tournament by myself, played in the event, and they thought that I should experience some of the East Coast. So I got to fly up to Washington D.C., spend a day there, walking
cool.
around. I flew up to New York by myself.
Oh my
Went
gosh.
to a show and the whole thing.
Oh my
I
gosh.
can't even imagine. Can you imagine a 16-year-old
no.
doing that? But
That's-
I was
that's a
always
great
a
story.
super independent type of kid, and it just gave me a flavor. You know, the first tournament I really remember of playing that I thought was a fantastic tournament was and I think that I'm trying to who the guy. You have a guy working out here now, Dan Hickson.
Yeah, Dan, Doug, or
And
or
Dan,
Harvey.
I played with
Harvey-
his dad,
Harvey-
Harvey,
Yeah.
in the Oregon Open when I was 15.
Oh wow. So
Yes.
Harvey was a great short game player.
And I played it was played at Astoria Country Club.
Okay.
And it blew about 40 miles an hour. And it was just, it was a hell of an experience. I made the cut as a 15-year-old,
Wow.
which was kind
Wow.
of fun. And I played with his dad. I always liked him for that. His dad was great. I always ask him about his dad whenever I see Dan. And so, it was great.
Yeah, I worked for Doug at Quail Valley.
Oh, you did?
I was the
Okay.
head pro over there, so
Okay, cool.
so he's shared with a lot of me. So we're here on 18 tee box, and
This was always a great driving hole.
yes, and as a kid growing up, as you would play, and I did this too when I was, you get bored playing the hole the same way. You start looking at it differently, and you're also, your background, you're very artistic. A lot of people don't realize you have some very artistic ways, kind of like Bob Cupp.
My mom was.
Bob Cupp also had a lot
Yeah,
of.
Bob was really an artist.
yeah.
I mean, the guy was amazing.
So your mind saw things a little differently. So this is kind of the hole where you kind of described a different way of looking at things. Has that, in kind of this moment in this area, kind of refresh your memory as to your involvement in course design?
It has, in a lot of ways, being able to grow up on a classical golf course. I'm drawn to them now, even to the great old golf courses, and I like all of the features. I like the greens complexes, the way they are, and so a lot of that happened here. And because of that, and the way shots set up and things, all that stuff has an influence on you. As a young boy, being able to play golf at Tualatin Country Club was huge. You have to remember, I could tee off from the other side of the green and play up and play 17 this way, but at that time there were no trees there. There was a bunker in the middle, so you'd play around the bunker. So those were just some of the things, and what led to the tees changing, because the old 16th tee was down here. It was down in this corner.
Yeah, in par 5.
We just started playing some holes some different ways, trying to take out some of the, not, I won't say quirkiness, but some of the things like the crisscross, like 8 and 9, just trying to get a little bit more land and being able to spread the golf course out a little. I do that a lot now. I have repaired clubs. I have a club in Utah that I worked at that the road moved in. So we had to move holes and do stuff. And so thinking that through, a lot of that started here, I mean, it really did.
So we were just talking earlier about your very first project, your first time that you ever, designed something on paper and whatever else was here at Tualatin. And I'm sure you were excited to see what you could come up with, right? So when you were here up at 15, this is one of the holes that you designed. Was this something that you wanted to pattern after the old par 3? Talk us through maybe what you were thinking at the time, if you can recall, or what was it?
It's hilarious. You'll laugh. I was sitting in church one day, believe it or not, and of course I knew the golf course extremely well.
Yeah.
And I started thinking about the vacant areas and how to make them all fit together properly. And so what happened was I got thinking about, there's some open space right there, because I wanted to get rid of, not that you need to necessarily, but just because people would have to stop with the cars coming in and stuff. And I thought, well, gee, you could play 13, and instead of 14 going across there, it could come this way. And so then I thought, well, but where am I going to find another hole? And that's when we sort of came up with this idea of making a cool little short 3. And I'm trying to remember, I played Pebble Beach and some of these great little short 3s. And Marion has a great little short 3. And Troon has the postage stamp.
Yeah.
And I thought, why couldn't we build something like that? Because there's plenty of space. There's no danger of anybody hitting anyone there. You know what I'm saying? So I thought, what if we played across here and just made a short hole that somebody could play, and it would, be a smallish green. And I just thought, this could be really, really cool. And so that's when I started walking it and saying, okay, well, this could work. We could put the tee up on top of the hill, because 16 from there was like a blind shot down the hill. You see what
Right.
I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which I never thought was all that great of a
No.
hole.
Yeah, yeah.
So I just thought, well, what if we made a 4 going that way, and we had this, put this 3 in here? So that was really how that all came about.
That's great. Well, you know, that hole, the members right now still comment about what a great par 3 hole
Short
that
3
is.
it is.
With the raised green where
Uh-huh.
you can't bail out, the 2 tiers.
Right.
It really puts a premium on ball striking at a
Right.
short hole.
And that's really what it is, because as I said, just making a golf course long, anybody can do that.
Yeah.
Making great short holes or drivable 4s, it's always something, and a drivable 4 was always number 9, even though it was
Yeah.
somewhat blind playing
Yeah.
up the hill. So I have always loved short 4s that you had an option of
Yeah.
trying to hit a driver or something and lay up in a
Yeah, just like Ghost Creek, who I was the head pro before on hole 16 or
17.
17, right? That was a great
think
hole.
of 16 and 17 there, how 16 is this
Yeah,
neat
sure.
little
Yeah.
downhill hole. And then I used to stand at Ghost Creek on 17 to try to place the tee, and I just hit a bunch of drivers down there. Now, obviously,
Yeah.
the guys hit it a lot
Yeah.
further now. But I'll tell you what, being able to have a drivable 4 where there's some risk reward with the creek in there, I thought, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that was very influential. I mean, a lot of it started here, but it expanded to other projects like it does with anybody.
Well, you see, you shot 69 at what, 13 or 14. To come up with hole 15 at your very first project is a testament to, I think, a natural affinity and ability to think things through that is not common amongst your average.
Well, the problem with players today is they want to make every hole 500 yards for a par
Yeah.
4, and they want to make every par 3 235 yards.
Yeah.
And the reality is most people can't play those holes.
Yeah.
And so how do you make it challenging for everybody? You can still make a short hole that's got some really cool, and we saw that even last year at the US Open, which
Yeah.
I love LA North, and that little 15th hole where they, that you almost had to make birdie there, but what a neat little green that is
Yeah.
sitting in there.
Yeah.
And I remember playing that the first time. Fortunately for me, when I started in the design business, I'd already played all around the world and played so many neat little golf courses and neat holes and drivable 4s and reachable par 5s and the long holes and the short holes. And, so being able to come out and do that, it's fun to see them now as they have matured, and I think they've made some nice improvements and making the tees bigger and, doing all the things that you need to do when you have a golf course like this.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Well, let's head over to hole 5. We can
Sure.
the turf.
Okay, where's you now?
We're gonna go to the par 3.
Okay.
5?
Yeah, 5.
Okay.
You good? All right.
Yeah, the golf course looks wonderful. Looks like it's in terrific shape.
So your competitiveness, where does that stem from?
My dad was an athlete, and I just inherited it from him. Just very competitive. I love to play games, do things, and, I just always wanted to win. That was my goal, is to always get better, play, and work hard and play better. And that my dad instilled into me the idea that you had to work hard or you couldn't get ahead. And I wanted to succeed. And to succeed, you have to work hard.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the greatest players in the world. They all got there. I remember Sam Snead said one time, he said, playing great golf is about 98% perspiration, about 2% inspiration and talent. And coming from a guy that had amazing natural talent,
yeah.
I am very I don't know if you know this or not, but I used to go down and hang a little bit with Ben Hogan.
Yeah, I was gonna want to ask you about that.
Ben Hogan was so nice to me, taught me a lot of stuff. I remember going down there before I qualified to play. I was invited to my first Masters, and I mean, he gave me some terrific advice. He was subtle about it. He didn't try to tell you what to do on everything. He just said, "Okay, John, here's some things you need to think about. I could tell you a couple of funny stories that he told me, but I'm just saying he had some amazing stuff that he taught me about that, you know. So,
Well, I see you played his clubs, you had the hat. I
Yeah.
feel like there was an homage with Ben in
well,
your game a little bit.
For
Is
me,
that true?
it was always Mr. Hogan. It was never Ben.
Okay, yeah.
I remember as a kid playing this hole, and you have to remember back then you had the back tees
Yeah.
and the members tees. You
That
didn't
was
really
it.
have women's tees,
Yeah.
which is one of the great things we've done is add more tees so more
Yes.
people could enjoy it. And this hole was always a challenge, always a challenge, because when I was growing up, I mean, you know, a 239-yard par 3, man, you were hitting. I remember when I started playing this hole, it was like a driver,
Right.
you know. And then as I got
Right.
better, obviously it became an iron, but it was just a fun hole to play. I mean, it really challenged you. If you were playing, you had to get by this hole. This and 6 were two really difficult holes. I mean, 6 is what, a 600-yard hole,
Yeah.
and I mean, these two holes are as challenging. And believe it or not, 4 was a challenging hole
absolutely.
back in the day when the ball didn't go as far.
Oh, yeah, 'cause
you know,
when we played
it was a
during the
driver and a
winter.
7-iron. You
Yeah,
know, I mean,
yeah.
it was not what it is now. The bunkers look good. I mean,
Yeah.
everything looks great. See what
So-
you guys come up with, and actually the reason it was that is Bob was leaving Jack at that time to go on his own, and I really had an opportunity to kind of be like a West Coast.
Yeah.
You know, he lived in Atlanta, Florida, and Atlanta, and I mean, he came out here every couple weeks, and it was my job in between to, you know, keep things rolling, and we were kind of like partners in that sense
Yeah.
that we worked together on that stuff, and you know, that was
So-
part of the fun.
So I got a couple questions. One was Gay Davis, Pumpkin Ridge,
Uh-huh.
the idea of hosting a U.S. Open, and from what I understand, you had also had similar thoughts of wanting to have a big USGA event here in the Portland area,
Well-
and the genesis of Pumpkin being part of that.
Well, I wanted to build a golf course there for me because the Northwest had never had a U.S. Open.
Yeah.
And I called PJ Boatwright, who was the head of the USGA at the time. I said, PJ, how do we get something? I mean, he says, well, you don't really have a golf course that works for that. I said, if we built something like that, if we could do something that challenges, he says, well, if you could really do something, we would
Yeah.
consider it.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, well, we're gonna. And he's like, okay, well, we'll see you soon. See what you think. And so that was the genesis of really Pumpkin Ridge.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, I just wanted to get going on doing some new golf course stuff. I mean, we started some renovation things, you know, here, and I actually did a little bit of side work at.
Emerald Valley, didn't you?
I did a couple of things
Yeah.
there for that guy, but I did. I worked at Oswego Lake. I did
Yeah?
some work at Portland
Cool.
Golf Club
All
a
right.
little bit.
All right.
Some at Columbia Edgewater, we worked together. But you know, being able to start a new golf course and do something that was
That was a highlight.
that was the
yeah.
genesis of what really became, you know, something really fun for us to do.
So,
you know,
so the cup vote is synonymous in the Portland area, and of course you have the reserve, you have
right.
Pumpkin,
and the reserve
you have
was really
Crosswater.
reserve was different.
Yeah,
We
you
each-
actually had your own.
I actually did one course
Yeah.
and he did one course, and we helped him with his because he didn't come out that much. By then he was kind of
Yeah.
doing other things, and so we kind of helped him. The guys on this, I didn't design it. we
Right.
just helped him get to
Yeah,
where
yeah.
he wanted to be.
and then
and,
Langdon Farms, from what I understand, is kind of potentially your first solo project.
I mean, Bob was involved, but he just said, "John, you just do this."
yeah.
And so he was very happy that I could, you know, step up and help and do stuff. And
So the three
So-
best public golf courses in the area all have your name in it,
yeah, wow.
and you also have Crosswater. You have
Yeah,
Centennial. You
yeah.
got Oregon is such
was such
yeah.
a bastion for me learning originally, you know, and you know, when I started in the business, I was known as the U.S. Amateur Champion, and that was
Yeah.
my claim to fame. And that's how I got into the business. That and Bob helping me
Yeah.
learn, and you know, with all due respect, Bob wasn't all that forthcoming on stuff. It was up to me to try to learn this stuff just by osmosis, almost.
Well, it's almost a better way to learn sometimes, right?
And you know, that's great. And so that's what I did. I had to do it. and I worked with the contract. I was at Pumpkin Ridge every single day when we were doing it, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I knew what I was doing, but I was learning a
Yeah.
lot while I was
Yeah.
doing it. So
Well, what an amazing accomplishment for your first couple projects to, you know, be a USG. I shared with that, you know, 6 USG events in its first 15 years. No,
yeah.
never happened before.
yeah,
Um,
it's amazing,
Yeah.
really. And it was really due to David Eager was really running and he just loved Pumpkin Ridge and gave it the U.S. Amateur 4 years after it opened, which was remarkable.
and then we got Tiger.
Yeah, and you got Tiger to win there, and
Yeah,
I
and that's
walked
just-
with him the last day with my daughter, which was really his third U.S. Amateur. I mean,
Yeah,
I mean,
unbelievable.
how the hell he ever won that match on Steve Scott was
On that
freaking
putt he made on 17, that was incredible.
unbelievable that he was able to do
So-
what he did. He
so-
was magic.
So Tiger had the fist pump, but I will say, after watching a little bit of clips, you had a nice little collection of celebratory.
Yeah, I mean, Tiger's a once in a lifetime player, with all due respect. I mean, the guy is just such a remarkable player. I mean, he truly is.
But I think of you as the Tiger Woods of Oregon amateur golf.
Probably
Because
back in those days, I
to
probably
finish
was one of the better
sixth-
ones.
To be the ranked 6th as an amateur, you know, and then you say, you know, I'm going to stay as an amateur, and then to go on that run you did in '77.
Well, I lost the amateur at Bel Air,
Quarters,
and that really was I was very unhappy about. I wanted one more chance
Yep.
to play in it. That's how Aronimec came about, quite frankly. I mean, that was a really great summer.
So-
I was the #1 ranked amateur in the world then, and I really had an opportunity to do some fun stuff. You know, playing in the Walker Cup and doing
Oh
that
my
stuff, that's
gosh,
a once in
yeah.
a lifetime deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
It's
know,
amazing.
so that's
Amazing.
just those are the types of things that you remember for your life.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I you know, they're just really fun. You know, we made these 2 holes here. I think
Yes.
were honestly were 2 of the best changes we could have made. It gave us, you know, another 20 something acres, and what a great thing this was to be able to have 2 new holes that were good, and then be able to have it in such a way that, you know, it fit in with the rest of the golf course.
Right.
And that's really what we were trying to do. I mean, I think you've made some nice improvements in it even since we've been here, which is great.
Yeah.
Boy, the water is up high, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right
Yeah.
now.
We have been a lot of rain lately, but
Well,
you can
I
see.
mean, Oregon has just been, I've been up a bunch of times during this winter doing some things, and man, it has just been, it's been amazing. And that little green right there was just that is a tiny little green, kind of fits with some of the other stuff that happened here, but this is a big hole right here. And of course, that hole is much shorter. Has it flooded onto these golf holes lately?
No, 96 it went over its banks, but after that, no.
It
we
hasn't.
haven't had, no.
Good.
No.
Yeah, I mean,
Every
it
once in a
is
while, but-
really full right now,
Yeah.
obviously.
So
But they're very playable, so that part's good.
So I know you were responsible in negotiating the land here and kind of
helping
helping
shepherding this
this.
thing through, which was, and I don't think they paid much for the land. It was a great investment.
yeah.
I mean, it could not have been a better investment than what it was.
Talk about the genesis of your mind in even looking at this land as a possibility. What was it going on?
There really wasn't anywhere else we could go. We looked at, you know, some other property on the other side of 11 and stuff, but there really wasn't anywhere else to go. And then we just started looking at it. And of course, these were all trees. We climbed around in here and looked at it, and I just thought, you know, and of course we had some maps we could look at, and I said, you know, we could get 2 really good holes in here that could easily, and then just make this hole a 5 down the hill or whatever. And so I just thought, you know, why wouldn't we do this? And so when we presented the idea, I think the members were kind of like, yeah, you know, that would be great. And, you know, with the little change that we made on the back 9, adding that new
Part
hole
3.
back there,
Yeah.
the 15th
Yeah.
was absolutely fabulous, you know. But these are nice holes. I think the improvements to the routing that we made here were really important.
Yeah, it kind of allowed for
I'm
space.
telling you, the
Yeah.
old golf course playing down 7 up 8 and then up 9, I just don't think the golf course was as good.
Yeah.
And I think the original designer would have, if this land had been available to him, he would have
He would have
utilized
used
it.
it, yeah.
There's no
Chandler.
question about it.
Yeah,
But
Chandler
you know,
would have
as
used
you
it.
get, you know how crowded golf is, especially now.
Yeah.
To have these 3 holes right in there, that would have been.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, can you imagine how what a
Number of
bottleneck
balls
that
hit,
would
yeah.
be?
Oh,
yeah,
God,
I mean,
yeah.
this now is
Yeah.
a situation where you've got, it's so much better situation, and they're nice golf holes. They fit in with the rest of the golf course.
And you're by the river. It's the closest you're by
Right.
the river. You have a lot more nature. I mean, it's just a great.
And it's not surrounded by homes. It's
Yeah.
part of the same as the rest
Yeah.
of the golf course. So I just thought,
It
you know,
fits in pretty
I
nice.
thought it was, you know, you didn't have to tear up the whole golf course to get this.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really a good
Yeah.
thing. So I'm glad we did this. I'm very pleased with, we got the routing in the right place. You always can make tweaks and improvements in bunkering and things like that, which you have, and I love what's happened. But I'm just saying, I think it was just so important to get this land.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it was so inexpensive.
Yeah,
too.
it had to
I
be.
don't remember what we paid for it,
Yeah.
but I don't think it was hardly anything.
So,
And it was just floodplain.
so
you know,
I love the dogleg right on 7 with the bunker in the middle, and
Yeah.
8 creates it's the talk of the town. Everybody when they play 8 for the first time.
It's a tricky little hole.
It's a tricky hole. So
And you got to be spot on. I'm surprised that oak tree has made it all these years, but wow, it has. That's good.
it's about a 20-yard gap between the water and there to hit a shot in there. And there's always debate amongst, you know, as that tree, you know,
Ages.
and gets a little bit over, or
Yeah.
and the green size, you
Yep.
know, it seems like it's shrinking, or it feels.
Yeah, you've got to keep that green at the scale that it is,
Yeah.
at a minimum. You could always
Yeah.
expand it. If that tree ever dies, all I told him was, I said, well, then you could expand the green a little bit, and you could put bunkers on the right just to achieve some of the same elements.
Okay.
At the
I like
time,
that.
that was something we thought about. But that little green, it's a short hole, so you just got to be very precise. You can bail out a little bit, but you've got to avoid the tree.
So the history of that tree, was that something that you kind of like, as you're routing, you're like, oh yeah,
Well,
I
we
like
found
that
it.
tree.
It was just it was all this
Yeah.
stuff, So, looking at a map, it's just a cool tree, and we just thought, well, and I'm not huge on trees, but
Right.
but I just thought, wow, that's an asset that we just can't tear it down.
Yeah.
I mean, we could have
Yeah,
could have
you
ripped
could've.
it down and put more put a bunker on the right or change the scale of the green. I think having it along the river there is really cool. It has
Yeah.
to be up a little bit so that the one rule that you always have is you don't want a green to go under on a flood if you can. You
Yeah.
want to keep it up. Now you're in a floodplain,
Yeah.
so you can't
Every
build
once in a while,
everything
yeah,
up.
yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to be careful how you do it. But we did get it approved, and I remember coming out here with the city of Tualatin and all the people, and they
Yes.
approved it, and
Good.
which was good. It was a struggle.
Yeah,
but,
that's what I heard. That's what I heard. So,
Yeah.
so number 9. If we can walk over to number 9.
Sure.
So, in one of the articles, as the course was being redesigned, and you had talked about 9, it was, you talked about other holes at Riviera. So Augusta National, number 15, with the water behind and the lake in the front, and
This
there was
has a
some
little
thoughts
bit of the
that,
elements.
right?
This has a little bit of the elements of 15 at Augusta National. Not as long,
Right.
but it has some of the same kind of elements of that. And so you drive out to the top here, then you play straight downhill, and the shot into the green is tricky. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, it really
Yeah.
is. It's a challenge. I love how they've expanded the
Tee box.
The tee box. It looks absolutely great. I mean, this is a tough little shot right here.
Yeah, because it kind of narrows in a little
It
bit.
does a
and
little bit, and
If you're a fader, it's a little bit harder to.
it's extremely difficult. This is a shot you've got to hit a great tee shot here, and then you're rewarded with a shot down in the green. But the shot into the green is no pushover. I mean,
No.
it's
No, it's really
not that
difficult.
hard. It's not that easy. So we felt like this would be a nice challenge to finish. you know, and I think it has proven to be a good one. Mostly it just gave us a little more room where we weren't crisscrossing holes and playing up and then coming
Yeah,
back to
yeah,
the tee
yeah.
and playing up 9.
Yeah.
And 9, you know, was a 280 yard, 250, 60 yard par 4.
Yeah.
Imagine if you had that now, you know, that would not
Yeah,
be
no.
what you want.
No.
So, and it just opened up some space.
So from what I gathered, talking to some other people, there was some thoughts, maybe design-wise, to dogleg it a little bit more to the left.
Yeah.
And use some of that peninsula area.
There
was some
was
funds, or just kind of.
the reason we didn't do that is we were afraid that the bank there would erode, and you know the river would, because the river runs like this, that it would tear all that out. I mean, you could still take out the trees there and still do that, but we just were a little nervous about that. I mean, quite frankly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were a little nervous about that. The important thing here is to keep all of the trees on the top edge there cut back, so that there's plenty of room for anybody to be able to play it. So, but this has turned out to be, I think it's a decent hole.
Oh,
I mean, I don't know how long it is now from the back tee. How far is this?
It's 508.
508. So it's still a challenge.
Yeah.
Of course, it's become, you know, with these
Par
guys
4.
that drive the ball so
Yeah.
far, you know, that it's less. But, you know, Augusta National 15 used to be, when I played there, you could hit driving an iron into that hole as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't a super long hole. Now, they've since lengthened it back to the left, but back when I played there and you were playing with persimmon heads and things, you drove it out to the top of the hill, and then you played across a lake down into that green, but that green was downhill like this is, and you had hit a great shot into that thing. But I mean, there were days you could hit a 3-iron or a 4-iron into that, so it wasn't that much different than this. So I mean, you know, unless you buy somebody else's land here or something. Plus the fact you need to be able to drive it out to the top of the hill and then play down into the bottom. Yes, in today's world, it probably almost a par 4 because they hit it so damn far. But if you knock it down the hill, then you're worse.
Oh,
you know,
yeah, it's
you're on
much
the side of
worse.
the hill.
Yeah.
So you've got to play the ball really to the top of the hill and then hit some kind of a shot down in there. And you know, that part's good. You know, I think this is...
Makes you
this
think
is
on the
good.
tee a little bit, you know.
This is never going to be a super long golf course anyhow.
Yeah.
So it's strategic. It's narrow and strategic, and you've got to, you know, play the shots. You need to play the position that somebody asked you to do.
So you could almost say this is a faute course in the true essence of how you kind of...
It's partially that,
Yeah,
but I mean
the
holes
feel of it.
were thought out.
Yeah.
Based on that. I mean, we wanted a golf course that had a little more challenge to it. You know, when I played when I was growing up, it was only a 6,200 yard golf course.
Yeah.
And, you know, as time went on, that just became awfully short.
Yeah.
Even in today's world, you know, it just
So
became
you could make this like a par 70, like the course that you did, where this would be a really difficult par 5, and then hole number 11 that's also a little bit short, you could turn that into a par 4, and you know, you would
And the thing that makes that hard is just all the rolls down there, you know, which have not been taken out, which is good. You know? So we never wanted to mess with that because I thought
so that's
that was
Mother
cool.
Nature. I'm going to be speaking on the Missoula floods and the sand that got deposited here and the water that came and made these ripples. This made this a perfect golf haven with the sand and the trees and the slopes and the river.
And I think the front 9 was the first 9 that was built, obviously.
They flip-flopped it.
Yeah.
So this is now the front 9 because they moved the golf shop.
Right. But I'm just saying when the golf course way back in the 12, I think that and that golf in the back 9, you have to remember, was way more open in my day
there was hardly any,
there was nowhere near the kind of trees. My dad was probably part of the instigator of trying to plant some of these fir trees so the 2 9s would match.
Oh, okay.
So they took out the big bunker in between 17 and 18 and planted those trees in there.
Oh, okay.
Now, if it were today, if it were me, I probably would have left the bunker and not had the trees. That's just me personally.
Yeah, so the original home...
The original golf hole, if you look at the old original golf course, they had a great big huge bunker in between the 2 holes.
Oh.
Yeah, big bunker. It ran probably about 60 yards.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yep.
All right,
Historically,
well,
if you look at that, that's what was there.
Well, that's great. Well, we're gonna head back. Maybe just drive down 9 so we can look
Okay.
down on the 9th green.
Great.
And
Yeah, no worries.
so 7, 8, there is extra land on the You know, you could push 8 back a little bit off the tee.
You
I
could.
guess.
You can. Or you could use both tees almost in the same spot. Yeah.
Some people have been talking about reversing the order. You know, they're worried about the green going into the water. I guess.
And I don't
but-
think there'd be anything wrong with bolstering up that green a bit. That me always
Yeah.
worried about that.
Yeah, I think that's the most logical next thing that could.
I
potentially
think
do.
so too. And maybe rebuild that green and make it a little more bulletproof and
Yeah.
actually put some stuff underground that was almost like, I mean, you could put something in there where it couldn't wash away, so to
Yeah.
speak, you know.
Yeah.
We were talking about the range
Yeah.
going from that
Yeah.
tee all the way down so we could make it wider because now
Yeah.
it just looks like a narrow fairway.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted them to plant the trees. They never did, but we should have planted trees all down that side. Then, because you don't really need that space on this hole.
Yeah.
That would have been better for, I mean, you had to take out these big trees, but that's all right.
Yeah.
You'd have a better, but I wanted it to just do that over a period of time where if they'd have planted it back when we did, the trees would be huge. And you could have easily just taken these trees out and made that practice area a lot wider, which I think would be a good thing.
Yeah, it
you
would
know?
be. It would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, look at all the stuff that's down there
Cook
now. It
Park.
looks like a park, huh?
Yep, Cook Park.
Yep.
They did a whole bunch of work with the Tualatin River, so it's now much cleaner.
Oh, that's good.
And they've got a society that takes
I used
care
to
of it
climb down there and find balls all day long. Man, we used to find 1,000,000 balls there. It was funny as hell. We used to climb down that hill and it was exciting to be able to grab balls and do the whole thing.
all. Yeah, so this is one of the really dramatic views on the course.
It absolutely is. And
When
that's
you-
why it was so cool, you know, to do this. So, yeah, and yes, it is not a long 5. It plays very short, but still, I mean, this is how much land you have. So,
Yeah.
you know, there's not much. I mean, we thought about going further left, but it would only added like a couple of yards, and
Yeah.
wouldn't have been anything big. But what a dramatic view with the river behind.
Yeah,
there,
it
you know.
is. It's just gorgeous.
It's very
right?
cool, very very cool. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
you,
good.
You did a great job of reimagining the golf course 7, 8, and 9. You know, setting it up for success.
So it looks like you did finally take that, because when I was here, a lot of they left that green there, and people didn't really know what the hell that was for.
Yeah, they just put some shrubs and stuff over
Yeah,
there.
that's good.
But
Just take a peek over the edge and we can finish our conversation.
Okay.
No, if you guys don't mind walking.
oh yeah, 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 yeah,
Just take a
yeah,
peek over the edge.
yeah,
We can
Sure.
finish our
yeah,
conversation. There you go.
yeah, yeah,
It'll look cooler.
Yeah.
yeah. So that was kind of Chandler buff Egan, and you know he would always want to put stuff by the edges of water and try to use that as.
Yeah.
So he had that green tucked back there
Way
a little
in
bit.
the corner, but he had less trees on the left too at
Yeah.
that time. So
But and then the green set up by the clubhouse.
Right.
But then you guys said, I'm going to go ahead and, you know, and
just
I know
go
there was like
across,
different
because
places.
I wanted to connect up to the 10th tee behind the clubhouse. That never happened. That was never that way. So you see, you played 8 up back there, and then you walked back and you played 9 up the hill. So you never went that way. So now we had to have a way to get over to 10 without coming all the way back up here. So we decided to build a little. I remember walking that, thinking, you know, we could have a path that goes from here around over to the 10th tee.
And so how you position the green with the pond
Yeah.
there was just like almost perfect. Like
Yeah.
you have a little bit of area that you can run something up if you're a little bit more bold.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Absolutely.
if you can fly it higher, you can, you know, carry it and let it stop. But then you
It's
have
a-
all this area to the right where you can bail
It's a
out.
big time risk reward shot.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're trying to make a 3 or something, you've really got to hit a great golf shot. I mean, and that's really what it was all about.
So-
and of course, back in my day, the ball didn't go as far,
Yeah.
so it was a driver, and it could be as much as a 4-iron in there or something. So
Mm-hmm.
it was good, you know, to have that. I mean, you've cleaned out a lot behind that green, which you know, at the time we weren't able to do as much of that because the eyes were on us, so to speak.
Okay, yeah.
But I love what you've done now, and I think it looks absolutely fantastic. Absolutely.
Right, and you know, having played the game, you would sit up here with a long iron and go okay, I got to hit a good shot here, right?
Well, you had to. I mean,
Yeah.
and, you know, when you tuck the pin left, man, you better hit a great shot because
Yeah.
there's no margin for error there.
Yeah.
And really, in a lot of ways, if you think about it, this is about the same fall as they have at 15 at Augusta.
Yeah.
And so when you hit that shot into that green, you've got to just carry the water, and if you go too far, it bounds down the hill and goes in the water. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's a tough shot. I mean, obviously we don't have the space behind this green,
Right.
but wow, it has some of the same similarities. Yeah, no, it's kind of a cool hole, to say the least. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it'd be better. I mean, if you could move the tee back like 40 yards, it'd be, for today's world would be great.
Yeah.
You can't, but that's okay. I love the fact that you put a nice big, putting green up there. I
Yeah.
think that's all good stuff. You know, we still had the golf shop over there, and
Yeah.
we just, the old ninth green, you put it right on top of the old ninth green, which was good. I mean, you can still find the tee over there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Just like you can, but there's so many good things that came out of this. I mean, spacing the golf course out better was critical.
Oh,
You
yeah.
didn't have the crisscrossing. You didn't have play 8 and come back to 9, and 9 was really not a good hole.
Yeah.
260-yard par 4 up the hill,
Yeah.
through trees, blind.
Yeah.
That had just about all the bad elements you could have. And so this is a much better finish now.
Oh, yeah.
7, 8, and 9 are
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. When you play 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I mean, that is
It's golf.
a stretch of golf.
That's a pretty good solid bit of golf, and you've got to do it. So that stuff is all great, and the mixture of the holes. I just try to build great golf holes. I mean, the order they're played in sometime is important, but it isn't critical. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah,
Augusta National, for instance, they reverse 9s. That used to be played. The front 9 was the back 9, and the back 9 was the
okay.
front 9 years ago. But there's just so many. You really need to build great golf holes, and then everything else will take care of itself.
Well, this golf course has stood the test of time since you made that design. I remember some of the early comments when you made and it kind of got completed as a little bit of some people didn't like their dues being raised, and some people didn't like the change because they liked the old. But yet now the validation.
Now when you look back on it, you go, "Oh no, that was the right thing to do."
100%,
we knew
right?
that it was at the time, but you're always going to have, with all due respect, you're probably going to have some older members who don't want to change anything,
Yeah.
and that's okay. But everybody's going to get old, and
Yeah.
sometimes change is necessary to make it better.
Yeah.
And when there's an opportunity, I mean, that the land that we got down there, that was a tremendous opportunity. People wanted me to look at trying to build the tee back on the other side of the river
Yeah, I hadn't
on
heard
9.
of that.
And I'm like, that's not going to work. Then you'd hit all your drives into here and have a blind pitch up the hill. I said, no, that's a terrible idea.
Yeah, because some people are like,
And how would you build a bridge across
No,
that? I
yeah.
mean, geez, you talk about spending money. Can you imagine having to bridge that? How
Yeah.
much that would cost?
oh gosh.
I
yeah.
said, guys, that's not even viable. Then they wanted to move the tee back where 8T was and play 9. I said, I've played that hole. I said, it's not that good a hole. So
Yeah.
the reality was, I think what we were able to do here, I think was good.
It's pretty awesome to see.
It's fun to
Right,
come
come
back
back.
and see the golf course. It's doing good. It's busy.
Yeah.
There's lots of members enjoying the golf course, and that's really what it's all about, is the members being able to play their golf course.
So I know Tualatin obviously made a big influence on your life growing up, playing here, becoming the player that you became. But to also have the opportunity to give back, to come back here 30 years later and to see that work that you did, and to see that it has carried on, that your
and
work
it's gotten
here
better.
has carried on.
And it's gotten better.
So how does that make you
It's gotten
feel?
better and better and better. I mean, it's a big source of pride that hopefully we left it a little better than we
Oh,
found
yeah.
it.
Yeah, right?
And that's
That's-
really what you want to do. I'm not one of those guys that just wants to use it and I don't care when I die. I don't care. I mean, I don't want it to be that way. Hopefully I made a small difference in making it better. And that's, and there, some of the old guys, I remember Dr. Rosenblatt saying, "John, I think you're going to bankrupt the club." I said, I still, a better golf course is never going to bankrupt a club, you know, even back then. And and he was, yeah, you're probably right. And I mean, he was a nice old guy.
Yeah.
I caddied for him a bunch, and he was a wonderful player. And
Good person.
I still remember caddying for him. I mean, he was a character, that guy. He was very competitive, and yeah, all that stuff was good.
Captain of the Stanford golf team. He
Yeah.
was a really good player.
Yeah, no, he was a good guy. He was a good
Yeah.
guy, and I'm glad. You'll laugh, but he was a member here. I have worked for 25 years at Ironwood, and he was a member there. They don't even remember him there,
Wow.
but I remember him telling me he was a member there.
Wow.
But yeah, no, I do work for them. They have 36 holes. I have a big plan that we're getting ready to do a bunch of stuff on.
Wow, the Rosenblatt Walton
Yeah.
connection
Yeah,
continues.
it's kind of funny. I
Yeah.
mean, nobody remembers him now. I don't know how long
Yeah.
ago Miller died, but it was quite a long time ago. But at the time, you know, he loved to go down there and play golf. But I do work at their club. I redid all their greens recently. Yeah.
Wow. Wow,
So-
that's
Hey guys,
great.
in the tee box.
Yeah.
Maybe we just
Yeah, we
wanna
gotta go.
Move over to the side.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah.
I think we
I
got.
just want like some kind of sound bites to say like, you know, maybe we already have it all. Okay, I'm gonna roll with that.
Yeah.
But we also might just want to get
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get out of the way. Maybe we can just go over to the range.
Yeah. Let's do that. Let's get out of there because it's still golf and it's getting dark, and I'm sure they want to be still playing their golf course.
Yeah. I'm a believer in things come full circle a lot of times.
Yeah.
And to have you back here and
Well, being able to be here is
know,
great.
being
Now I'm the old man. At the time, I was just a kid.
so you're not going to be like, hey, don't mess with my work.
Oh, hell
You know.
Golf courses always have to get better.
So
I
so
don't
you're a
care
big.
I don't care who did it.
You're a
They
big.
need to get better.
yeah,
and,
you're-
and construction methods get better. Everything gets better.
So Donald Ross, big fan of his.
I
Me
am. I
personally,
won
right?
the U.S. Amateur on
Aronimink,
one of his golf
yep.
courses, and have played the U.S. Open on some of his golf courses. I mean,
Yes.
he was a great player.
So Pinehurst #2 was the kind of his quintessential work as a designer, and he would go there for.
And you know, and that is somewhat true. I think it was his baby because he lived there.
Yes,
But honestly, I think Aronimink
was
of
the
all
better.
what was is
finest
maybe
work.
just as good. I mean, the other courses, the Oak Hills, the Oakland Hills, all those golf courses were tremendous golf courses. I mean, Donald Ross did
Yeah.
so many great golf courses.
Yeah, it's
Good
unbelievable.
grief.
So he didn't. What to your point? He didn't just complete the #2 and he was done. He would go back there time
He
and time
did
and
almost
time
400
again.
golf courses. Think about that. He was gone all summer on the train doing golf course. He didn't do like I did, which was travel to the site almost every single week.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah, your passion for the game to be competitive at the level that you're at, and then to transition into the design world.
Well, I always
and
tell
take
everybody,
that.
I said, playing golf was just a preparation for me being able to do golf course design, which was just kind of funny. That
Yeah.
experience, you know, that was the greatest experience ever, being able to play in the Masters 3 times and
Oh my
5
gosh.
Opens and all that kind of stuff. It was all great stuff. Even though my career was kind of cut short and everything, it was still, I mean, I've traveled to 6 continents playing golf. I mean, that's pretty good.
And you had some success along the way, right?
little bit of success
that
here and
feeling,
there.
that feeling of,
Yeah.
you know, hoisting that trophy can be pretty exciting.
Well, it's pretty fun to have won some of those events.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you. There's no greater high in the world than winning a championship. But you know, that was a long time ago. And being able to do work on golf, you know, that lasts a long time. And
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, your long-term satisfaction in life probably stems more towards all the courses that you've been involved with.
You know, I've lived a great life in golf. You know, I always say, if I died tomorrow, I will have had one of the best lives of anybody could ever have, because I've gotten to play at the highest level. I mean, I played golf with Ben Hogan's, played in an exhibition at Riverside with Sam Snead,
my
played
gosh.
with him in a tour event when he shot below his age. Yeah. And, you know, knew a lot of those people, was fortunate enough to have probably one of the last younger guys that ever got to know Mr. Hogan at all.
Wow.
And being able to play in different parts of the world and some of those things has been a joy beyond joy. And then being able to work on some of the golf courses. I mean, I still have a bunch of things I want to do as far as designing golf and stuff. I mean, I know I'm getting older, but I still love doing it.
I've heard through your wish list that you have always wanted to do something on the Oregon coast.
I do want to, and we'll see if that happens. But that's always been because both my wife and I are both from Oregon, and we both went down with our families when we were little. I went with my grandparents all the time, and she went with her family all the time to her grandparents' home, and so we both have a love for the Oregon coast that is just goes beyond just what some people have. I mean, we're just kind of married to it in a lot of ways. You know, we love it down there, and we go down there every chance we get. My wife and I asked my wife, I said, you know, we haven't been anywhere for a while. Let's go somewhere. I said, you know, do you want to go to like Las Vegas and go to some shows or something? She says, or do you want to go to the Oregon coast? She says, Oregon coast. And, you know, that's just so both of us love that, love being there, and she still comes back. We're staying with her sister for a couple of days, and so I knew she would love that. She's very close to her family.
Well, I know it's been 30 years, but we hope the next time it's not going to be another 30 years. And
It won't
come
be.
by, you come by and bring your clubs with you, and you know,
It's
go
pretty
play
fun.
with Bruce.
It's
And
pretty fun being back here. I mean, I don't think there's any question about that. I'm looking forward to seeing some old pals. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah,
You know,
well.
because Fred is a great guy. He's a little bit older than I am, but Bruce and I are the same age, and there were so many people that are gone now that I enjoyed having the opportunity to know and play with here. I caddied a lot here, you know,
Really?
from the time I was 12. So I caddied for a lot of the members. So.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did.
Wow.
I caddied a lot for the first 3 or 4 years I was here at the club. Yeah, I caddied for a lot of the people here. Yeah, so that part's fun.
Tom Fazio, he was a caddy in Pennsylvania, and he would watch the senior golfers hit 180-yard slices, and he said, I'm going to design courses to make sure that those
Guys can still play it.
as a caddy, seeing the average player, that probably had a little bit of...
Well, I started playing golf with my grandmother in the women's group on the public golf courses. And people say, well, how do you know how those people played golf? I said, hey, I'm probably one of the few people you know, I've played from every tee. I played from the very forward tee, I moved back, and then all the way to the very back. And so, you know, I've had a pretty full golf life.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Yeah.
So.
All right, well, we're going to...
All right.
We're good,
Thanks,
I
guys. Thank you. Yeah,
Thanks
enjoyed
for
the
putting all
time.
the...
Have a great one. Oh, I better get this off
out,
of
man.
me, huh?
Yeah, we'll get that off of you real quick.
All right.